It was a privilege to stand beside police officers, sheriffs, and agents as a federal prosecutor and support them in their mission to protect our communities. You used to think the suspect was the guy with the cornrows, now you see the police officers with the cornrows. In my opinion, New York City police officers are brave. One can only guess the amount of magic mushrooms a sane person would have to consume to believe that a frisbee constituted a genuine threat to roughly 3,000 police officers. Most police officers are good cops and good people. Police officers' disproportionate use of force against people of color is a stain on our nation. I still have admiration for the vast majority of police officers, but there is no denying that some are guilty of mistreating the people they are supposed to serve. As a black man who doesn't know another black man who hasn't had strange run-ins with police officers, it's impossible for us not to think about whether that could have been us, based on our country, based on our culture, based on our past experiences. Police officers put the badge on every morning, not knowing for sure if they'll come home at night to take it off. There has been an outpouring of anger and concern because of the actions of George Zimmerman, a private citizen who profiled a young boy and pursued him and tried to confront him, perhaps. But what George Zimmerman did is no different than what police officers do every day as a matter of standard operating procedure. There's a lot of good police officers. There's thousands of perfect traffic stops. Lot of good men, lot of good women, but those don't get the stories. Not only are police officers often taken for granted, many people are highly vocal about their dislike for cops. People see police officers and think they're such bad people. We have some who can be some bad people, but we have some great ones out there, that are here to protect us. Our communities will become more, not less, dangerous when local police officers are pulled from their duties to arrest otherwise law-abiding maids, busboys, and day laborers for immigration violations. Police officers, firefighters, EMTs, they are all out there every single day, literally just a phone call away for anyone who needs them. I think sports has done a disservice for a lot of black kids thinking they can only be successful through athletics and entertainment. I want them to know they can be doctors, lawyers, teachers, firemen, police officers, etc. In the last 5 years I've been working with the LAPD, training police officers in first aid and CPR. Local prosecutors work alongside local police officers on a regular basis and are therefore conflicted when it comes to prosecuting those same officers. They are under extreme pressure from local police unions and from rank-and-file cops. We have to create a safe space where our communities feel protected by the police instead of victimized. We also need to make sure our police officers feel appreciated as our local heroes. I will lobby tirelessly in cooperation with other mayors around the country to ensure that federal funding for our recently added police officers continues. Each day, millions of police officers do the selfless work of putting their lives on the line to protect civilians, frequently responding to or preventing crises completely with no recognition. I think police officers are modern-day heroes. I think they protect us. I remember my dad always complaining about getting pulled over. I remember the differences in school systems. I remember seeing police officers, not knowing their names, and knowing that they were there not to protect us, not to serve us, but to watch us. Our police officers are on the front line of a battle to maintain control of our streets. Democrats literally hate all police officers. I probably saved more black lives as mayor of New York City than any mayor in the history of this city, and I did it by having to use police officers in black areas where there was an astounding amount of crime. If that crime was in white areas, police officers would be in white areas. We, the American people, owe the nation's police officers our deepest gratitude, our best efforts, and our strong support, for they have done so much for us against such great odds. I got family members that's police officers. I don't got no problem if you a cop, as long as y'all doing y'all job, and y'all not harassing. A good society is characterized not just by liberty but by mutual respect and responsibility. When this breaks down, it takes a lot more than police officers to put things right. Every day, in every city and town across the country, police officers are performing vital services that help make their communities safer. In the midst of the heartbreak and wreckage of 9/11, the world also witnessed what is America's greatest strength. Firefighters, nurses, police officers, first responders and local residents worked around the clock to rescue and care for those injured. I remember turning onto the street. I saw barricades and police officers and, just, people everywhere. When I saw all of that, I immediately thought that it was Mardi Gras. I had no idea that they were here to keep me out of the school. Let me be clear, as I have said repeatedly, I do not believe that all police officers are bad, nor do I believe that most are bad. But there must be a transparent, impartial and fair system to judge those that engage in criminal or unethical acts. It is one thing to train officers on fighting crime. It is a whole other thing to train them to build friendships and relationships, which are integral to fighting crime. This takes time, effort, and patience on the part of police officers. We're getting rid of bureaucracy, so that we're releasing time for police officers to be crime fighters and not form writers. We pass bills authorizing improvements and grants, but when it comes time to pay for these programs, we'd rather put the country's money toward tax breaks for the wealthy than for police officers who are protecting our communities. There are certain age limits on police officers. They'd have retired me out at 65. I love race car drivers, I love gymnastics, I love UFC, I love police officers, I love firefighters. I just try to give them the same enjoyment they give me. Most citizens viewing the tape of Rodney G. King being beaten by police officers were stunned and uncomprehending. Most citizens, that is, but the urban poor. There are terrible, terrible memories of September 11th, things that I saw, people that I lost, the devastation, the identification of bodies. I mean, all these memories come back to you at different times. And then the other side of it, this tremendous response with the firefighters and the police officers saving people, the rescue workers. The right place for a person suffering a mental health crisis is a bed, not a police cell. And the right people to look after them are medically trained professionals, not police officers. I hope we can figure out the reforms, educate and really retrain our police officers. Getting people to understand that just because I grew up a different way and my lifestyle's different, doesn't mean that you need to be afraid of me. Accountability for police officers should be an expectation, not an aberration. No one knew what Rodney King had done beforehand to be stopped. No one realized that he was a parolee and that he was violating his parole. No one knew any of those things. All they saw was this grainy film and police officers hitting him over the head. Whether it's police officers, firefighters, first responders, or 911 dispatchers, many dedicated Americans work long hours, and often in difficult conditions, to make sure that when someone's in need, they can help. The worst teacher in America could never do as much damage as the worst police officer in America. But the right wing has never even been slightly curious about evaluating the job performance of police officers. We must honor, protect and support our police officers and their families every day of the year. I have quite a few good friends in Philadelphia who were police officers. When we talk about justice in America, we're really talking about justice brought about by the people. Not by judges who are tools of the establishment or prosecutors who are equally tools of the establishment or the wardens or the police officers. It is up to us to change laws on the books like Stand Your Ground laws and push elected officials to enact regulations that hold police officers to the same standards as the rest of society. This is why we vote. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.